Well, they're seeing an increased use of artificial intelligence. Well, it's taking center stage in many fields of endeavor. In sports, many of the lesser known sports are beginning to adopt and use artificial intelligence for fast-tracking their activities. Even in the media space, we're seeing the use of artificial intelligence raising questions about the future of the technology and its likely impact on everyday life. Let's bring in a number of individuals helping us to discuss and to look at the impact of AI on our daily lives. Joining us now is Xiaoming Zhai. He's with the Department of Mathematics, Science and Social Studies, Education. That's for Mary Frances Early College of Education, University of Georgia. We have Richard Nunekpeku, who's the managing partner for Sustainary Attorneys. He is a lawyer and also expert in fintech and artificial intelligence and machine learning. Dr. Richard Aqua Coleman is a lecturer in industrial and organizational psychologist, and we have Professor Mahmed Gunu, who's the Dean of Faculty, University of Development Studies. Matthew Nyaba is a doctoral student for the Department of Educational Theory and Practice, University of Georgia, USA, and Noble Salom Jer is the Deputy Programs Manager for Teacher Education Journal. Let me start off with you, Xiaoming Zhai. For those who may not be conversant with the technology itself, what can you say about artificial intelligence?
Well, thank you so much for your question. I think artificial intelligence has great potential to transform education, including other domains in our life. I think if we look at our everyday life, from like purchasing from Amazon or search on Google and everywhere, right? Artificial intelligence is transforming our life. From the educational perspective, we are using artificial intelligence to provide a customized learning opportunity for all students. We're trying to use AI, including machine learning, to provide a timely feedback for students' learning. So from my perspective and in my research, I think artificial intelligence hold the strong promise, and I really feel very excited living in this era like artificial intelligence is available in our life. Thank you.
And some fields are beginning to adopt artificial intelligence. Of course, we know of the sporting industry, and not just sports, but even when it comes to radio and TV broadcasts, for instance, some of these technologies are being used elsewhere. There's a concern about jobs and job security. Should that be a worry for many?
From my perspective, I really don't think that's going to be a real worry. But I think in the history, so whenever new technology, created and there always be worries about whether technology can substitute humans' work. But I think we, from all the history we learn, that technology always make great contribution to our life. And I also want to highlight is technology itself is not good or bad, right? It really depends on how humans use technology. Technology itself is morally neutral. And I think it's very critical, like for us to start to think about how can we make use of technology so that every people can benefit from technology. In the educational field, a lot of people were thinking, well, if AI is going to be used in classroom, whether artificial intelligence will substitute teachers' job. I think artificial intelligence can serve as a really good partner and intelligent partner for teachers, but many critical decision has to be made by teachers so that the students can benefit from the technology. And I haven't seen the possibility that artificial intelligence will substitute teachers or create some risk or crisis for teachers' job. I think the same thing might also happen in other areas. I think it's critical for us to think about how can we prepare our future citizen and our future, citizen, so that they can be successful in their the new position they are going to face, where artificial intelligence will be available for them, right? So I think artificial intelligence can make their job easier, and maybe as educators, we have to reflect what kind of competence we need to prepare our students so that they can be successful in the future. Thank you.
So what would you say will be the impact on the education sector?
Well, I think right now there's a lot of discussion about the potential impact to education, right? First of all, I think we have to think about the educational goals. What impact artificial intelligence towards the educational goals is the first thing we need to reflect, because education serves our society by preparing future workforce, right? If technology like artificial intelligence will be available in the future, then which means like for some students, right, they probably will not need rely on some will not rely on some like basic skills to be successful in the future. And many people previously, for some job, they might not qualified to do the job, but in the future, with the help of artificial intelligence, they might be qualified for that kind of job, right? And at the same time, we need to think about what's the critical competence that will be essential for students to be successful in their future. In that sense, I think we need to adjust the educational goals from ours. I think right now there's a lot of researchers, they started to think and publish some papers and discuss about this aspect. Another very important aspect is about like if we revise our educational goals, then how are we going to approach our educational goals? Like what kind of materials we're going to develop, curriculum materials we need to prepare for students, and what kind of content they need to learn, and also like how what kind of pedagogy we're going to use to prepare students and also prepare our future teacher, right, so that they can be successful in the classroom. In all, I think the impact can be huge. So we need to, I don't think the impact has already taken effect right away, but I think we need to prepare really well so that we can meet any challenge brought by the artificial intelligence to education.
Let me bring in Richard Nunekpeku. You've been listening to him, the point about his side of the view in terms of the impact on jobs. What do you also have to say about the fear for the massive loss of jobs if we're to adopt AI?
Thank you, and thank you to your viewers and listeners. I think that the understanding of the concept of AI will be important in understanding whether its effect will be on job losses or creating new jobs. Because basically what AI is supposed to help us do is supposed to enable humans to perform the tasks we hitherto do more effectively and more efficiently. Because as part of our creation, God has given us natural talent, and we are endowed to think, imagine, and to act. And in that process over the period, we've been able to more or less generate a lot of data that at every point in time, if as humans we want to go through that data ourselves to be able to make the next best decisions, it is becoming difficult. So computers have come in play to ensure that as much as possible, we are able to effectively mine or more or less go through all that data that we have over time and provide the predictive best results that are close to if I was thinking as a human and performing that task. So if you situate that within the job market, you observe that what it requires now is for us to acquire new skills, because ultimately AI and its technologies and whatever will be developed along its path will not by themselves be able to do the job. Human beings must still have to input whatever outcomes AIs are going to give us. So it means that we have to now begin to develop new skills. We need to begin to reorient our approach to work and also be ready for the next phase of the job market. So if, for instance, today you do not have a computer skills and you are not able to understand how to use computers, how to use laptops, tablets, and whatever there is, it means that tomorrow there will be jobs that will be available for persons who know how to use computers. So you who have not prepared yourself for that tomorrow will be out of the job market. It is not because AI has come into play. It is because you are not ready to be able to participate in the new opportunities that AI is creating. So for us as human beings who are responding to this new innovation, we must begin to ask ourselves, how prepared are we, or what initiatives are we taking to be able to situate ourselves for the new jobs that are being created with technology?
And Dr. Coleman, the issue about integrating that into our curriculum, at least so the future generation can get used to the technology before mainstreaming. Can we achieve that? Dr. Coleman, we're having some challenges hearing you. If you could just unmute for us so we can hear the point you're making.
So, like I was saying, it depends on the strategies we are going to put in place to really ensure that this is really done. Because artificial intelligence, if you look at the industry, it's just growing. A lot of investments are going into it. So it has come to stay. And so we just have to find a way to embrace it. You know that in our part of the world, job opportunities, the job market is very limited compared to other places. And that is why perhaps the anxiety, the fear about losing jobs, the automation, that is where perhaps it is coming from. And one of the things that, from a psychological point of view, it has to be mentioned is that these are machines or computer programs that are performing things that hitherto human beings are supposed to require human intellect to do so. And now computers or machines are really taking over. Now, there are certain basic skills in terms of cognitive abilities like memory recall, problem solving, and what have you, that we often do with our mind, with our brains, and all that. Normally, when people overly rely on machines and computers to do things for them, it also decreases this aspect of our basic cognitive ability in terms of our memory recall and our problem solving and all that. And so, especially within the secondary school or the learning, the educational system, I expect that some kind of regulation will be put in place. For example, students who are using AI, what is the mindset? What is the attitude for using it? Or I'm going to use this thing to do this for me, rather than I'm going to use this as a tool to help me to do this. Once we begin to interpret or see these things more as a tool, rather than something that is going to substitute maybe our problem-solving ability or our memory recall, then it becomes an issue in the long run, to the extent that now certain basic functions that we are supposed to perform with our own minds and brain becomes an issue. And once we are not able to do that, it also goes a long way to affect our own self-confidence or our self-esteem, because now without the access of this, if there is light off, and how to do something, because there's no light for you to now access your computer, and that in itself can also have a toll on your self-confidence or self-esteem. So if it could easily be regulated in a way that students that are using this, they will see it as a tool that will support or help them, but not to replace their own human abilities, and that for me would be very great.
Gunu, your take on this?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to look at it in the context of education delivery in Ghana. And what I want to mention is that AI is now the new wind blowing globally. And the point is, there's nothing we can do than to prepare ourselves for the opportunities and the challenges associated with that. And I'm happy that we have started this conversation. Globally, a lot of conferences are ongoing. For instance, this month in Tokyo, the International Conference on artificial intelligence and education in Ghana will be held. So it is important that we start the process to see how we can prepare our teachers to be able to take an opportunity that is currently in Ghana. Whether we like it or not, artificial intelligence is in Ghana. So what can we do? We need to support the government to construct policies that can support the use of artificial intelligence in the educational delivery in Ghana. If that is not done, there is a possibility that we encounter a lot of challenges. In the first instance, the skills that the teachers are needed to be able to perform that responsibility. Secondly, we are preparing students to work in the job market. And whether we like it or not, there'll be issues of this nature. So our students should be well prepared to be in the job market. And remember, we are now preparing individuals for the global market. And that is what individuals are encouraging global citizenship at this moment. So there's nothing we can do than to get ourselves involved in this new opportunity to handle our students to be able to deliver in the job market. So I feel that these are opportunities for us, but we must be able to support the government to construct policies that can support its usage in our schools. Thank you.
You are a student, and so you've been interacting with your colleagues on this technology. Do you feel that people in your age bracket are beginning to accept and incorporate the use of AI in their daily lives?
The reality is we must be willing to be part of this global agenda, whether we like it or not. And that is why I mentioned earlier that it is important this conversation is started. In my university, the Center for Educational Leadership and Innovation is prepared to work with colleagues in various universities to have a national dialogue on this important issue. So I want to mention that it won't take time. We would be extending an invitation to colleagues in sister universities to join University for Development. That is a Center for Educational Leadership and Innovation.
Okay, I was asking Matthew.
Yes.
I was asking Matthew about, I mean, since he's a student, the experience and, of course, the interaction with colleagues on campus. Matthew, if you can just feed into the conversation that Prof was raising earlier.
All right, thank you very much, Blessed. And then I would also want to thank you for this initiative, and then the other organizers, and then also our viewers. As a student, I've been working with Dr. Shai on the different research on AI, and then the happenings in the AI concerning maybe students, how we use it. For me, from my perspective as a student, I would say AI has come to stay, and then it has come to help. But it all depends on how we are going to use it, how we are going to put regulations to guide students in using it. A typical example that I can give is that recently we had undergraduate students. I'm a graduate teaching assistant myself, so I also assess students. So we had undergraduate students who have started using AI in answering their project works and some of the take-home assignments that you give to them, So, and we have a unit that deals with that, which you call academic honesty unit. So academic honesty unit got to know that some people use AI in answering their assessment items. They call the student, and the response the student gave was something that you cannot penalize the student. The student said that I used a machine. I didn't plagiarize. So in this way, what can you do? So, it becomes a challenge on educators. It becomes a challenge on policymakers to now rethink about how can we assess our educational outcomes. And for me, I have taught in Ghana for some time now, and also being a student, knowing what is happening. Students are using it. I had opportunity to interact with some students even in Ghana, and some of them are using it. Within them, they know that, oh, whatever they are doing, and that is not the right thing, but they are enjoying it. How can we capitalize on it and use it to help them to learn? We have had a lot of students who suffer in learning even second language. AI has come to support the system. So for me, I am thinking we shouldn't see it as an enemy. Let us embrace it. Let us help students to rather know how to use it, guide them, and assist them. And then another thing that I want to talk about is Ghana education system, how we maybe implement our teaching and assessment. AI has come as a game changer. Dr. Shai wrote a paper on AI as a game changer. And I think it is more pertinent to us as a developing country. So as a game changer, because the way and manner we teach and assess our students has not been the best so far. If you can go back to educational reforms, all the factors that necessitate educational reforms has been on the fact that we overemphasize on content-based knowledge, cognitive skills development. You know, Dr. Coleman mentioned something. It is very important. It is true. We want critical thinking. But our education system, even the new curriculum, when we go back to it, we have 6 core competencies that guides it. And with the hopes that students can acquire these competencies, and these competencies will help them to meet the demands of the industrial world and event develop the country. But you know, we have something we call dominant teaching and assessment. Teachers will still teach the way they have been teaching, reduce these competencies back to content-based learning. And that has been our issue. So I see it as a game changer, a changer if and only if we are able to capitalize on the positive and then to get a positive effect. It is going to be a game changer if and only if we remain and keep on grumbling of the effect and then maybe the negative, then it will continue to harm us in a negative way. So a game changer, we have 3, finally I want to touch on this, we have 3 domains in education psychologically. We have the affective domain, we have the cognitive domain, and we have the psychomotor domain. And in education, that's the main. In education, when you're teaching, you're supposed to promote all these 3 domains. And it's believed that these domains will gear towards educational outcomes and then, in effect, develop the country. But then, in our education system, it has always been cognitive domain. How do we teach the affective and assess the psychomotor domains? So now that AI has come and is going to supplement, if we embrace it, it will supplement the cognitive domain aspect. But the current research we conducted proved that AI is able to unlock higher order thinking abilities and then the cognitive loads. So it is going to supplement this aspect and pave way for teachers, educators, and policymakers to find out how we can now implement the psychomotor domain aspect and then the affective domain aspect, which we need. We need in Ghana, we need it for our development. The industrial world needs skilled personnel. We need that. So in my view, students are using it at the moment. And what we have to do is that we embrace it, know how we can help students in a positive way so that they can use it to benefit themselves. It's not about who is using it and who should we assess and left behind. It's about we want them to acquire it. Now through AI, I can go to China, though I'm not a Chinese, but I can use AI tools to communicate with somebody in Chinese. So if we want to focus on the liberal education of arithmetic, reading, writing, and keep on saying that, oh, it's going to affect us. It's going to affect us because that is what we have been teaching. But if it's now going to help us to change how we teach and how we assess our students, which it's already enshrined in the curriculum and we are not doing it. So now we will now be thinking of how do we assess them? Do we want to assess them on product base? Do we want to assess them on performance base? Or we still want to assess them on content base? So, Blessed, if you should ask me that would be the little thing I can say about AI. But then I hope that educators will embrace it. We shouldn't see it as something that is coming to harm us. Thank you.
Noel?
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much, Blessed, for the opportunity. And a very good evening to listeners and viewers. I think the panelists have highlighted enough on the potential of AI and then what it can do. But I would like to just take it from the perspective of now that AI is here, what do we do? We talk about the potential it has for education. What are the gaps that are there? And I think that despite we having the conversations about policies and curriculum, those are very long-term processes, and we in Ghana actually know what the challenges are with, trying to shift with a new system that is existent. So for the interim, in my experience, what I would suggest is that just like stakeholders always provide interventions to support education, the very first point of supporting AI integration in education has to do with professional development for teachers. Now, like I always say, teachers are like the wheels of a vehicle. Without them, well, they are not moving, then the policies are not going to be implemented and education is not going to be impacted in any way. And I also agree with Matthew when he says that we need to look at the way we assess students and the way we design learning experiences for our learners. So if you look at the training that we normally receive in Ghana from our school system, it's more of ability to remember, ability to understand, and at best apply. I think with AI, more of these issues having to do with memorizing lots of content, trying to record the content, and trying to just do simple literacy and numeracy assessments is not going to help. And so with the AI coming in, more of the issues that have to do with recall of content and all that is going to already be done by the AI. And that is why, because the questions that teachers set is based on recall of these content, most of the students are falling back on the use of AI to get answers to questions. So I think this is, in a way, going to help education in Ghana, because then if teachers are going to want to put out credible assessment, they have to focus on questions or projects that will cause students to create projects, things that they will have to analyze, the understanding of the content to be able to create those solutions. So I think that the teacher educators, teachers, anybody who has to do with education who is having a key role to play in learning should be looking at how they are redesigning their assessments for learners to be engaged in higher learning. Now, I think it's also the role of key stakeholders. Last month, 2 weeks ago, the Teacher Education Journal, in partnership with the Gambaga College of Education and then the UDS, organized a forum for teachers. Now, two things we observed in that engagement was that tutors were curious about the technology. And so from their engagement with us, you also understand that they have limited knowledge. So those are the two things. The good news is that they are curious about it. They are interested in the technology. So then what we need to do as education stakeholders, what we need to do as experts in AI is to provide more of these opportunities for teachers to engage with the tools that are available in terms of use of AI, how they can even check the students' assessment to be sure that, okay, this student is using AI. And so then, of course, we're going to always have the issues of ethics coming in, learners trying to use the AI to solve questions and all that's coming in. But I think it's very crucial, the aspect of providing support for the system, support for the teachers, enough training for the teachers on how to use AI, so then we are not left behind in the conversation about how AI should be used. Dr. Coleman Riley said, AI is moving at a speed that if we don't take care as a developing country, we may not be able to catch up. So there is not a time for a country like Ghana to maybe try discussing issues of disadvantages of AI. I think we need to actually see how well we can actually situate the conversation of AI within the context of Ghana. Conversations are currently going on about policies to restrict the use of AI, and I think it's going to be very difficult for us to focus on that as a country. What we can focus on is providing enough training opportunities for teachers, providing enough sensitization for students on how they can better use AI to support their learning. And I think with that, we are good to go as a country.
We need to go. Let me hear from each and every one of you on the future and what your personal outlook is. Let me start off with you, Xiaoming, joining us, of course, from the Mary Frances Early College of Education. What do you see going forward as the future of this technology?
Thank you so much for your question. I think on one aspect, I think artificial intelligence provides a great opportunity for us. I think to move forward, we need also to concern any potential risk or negative aspect of artificial intelligence potentially could bring to our life. For example, there might be some limitation of artificial intelligence algorithm. And so far, according to our research, we find that any algorithm has limitations. And so we need to educate the users to aware of the limitation of artificial intelligence so that they can use the algorithm in their life appropriately and correctly. Otherwise, there might be some risk to generate potential bias or some negative outcome from artificial intelligence in education. So I think move forward, what we need to do another aspect is like we need to really prepare future teachers to think about like, okay, if we're going to change the educational rules and we're going to change the pedagogy to approach the educational goal, then what kind of professional learning we need to provide to our teachers so that they can be successful, right? Teacher always will be the central role in classroom. And from my personal perspective, I really don't think artificial intelligence will substitute teacher. In that sense, like, how can we help teacher to coordinate the relationship between like a teacher themselves, students, and the technology, right? That's going to be a central theme in the educational field, I think, in the future. And we need to put a lot of effort to study so that we can better benefit the artificial intelligence for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear from Richard. What's your outlook?
Thank you, Bless. For me, I think that technology has been the leveler for us as community. So either you are in a developed world or in a developing country, technology provides a tool where participants at all levels can have the same benefit and are exposed to equal risk. And AI is the next level of that opportunity that we must leverage. So my warning is that there's been a growing concern about whether this is the time for us to begin to think about laws that regulate the use of AI. We are not there yet. It's a developing technology. We should focus on its use cases across various industries. Yes, there are concerns about its impact on issues of privacy, data protection, and issues of theft, issues of exposure of minors to harmful content online and all that. But it is not the time for us to begin to think about regulating AI, because that is technology. In itself, it is not relevant. It is how people are using it that is making the technology very useful. So we must begin to look at policies around the use cases. How are we using AI, for instance, in education?
Okay.
How are we using it in our finances? How are we using it across food and drugs, across issues of movement of people? So those use cases and how we fashion our policies that respond to a very transparent and accountable use of AI should be the goal, but not to be focusing on putting a regulation to regulate it.
Unfortunately, we've been timed out. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here on the Joy News channel. Grateful for your time. You're watching The Pulse. We'll be right back.
Thank you.